Ricardo said it, we killed the wrong Kennedy. He had it on tape. I mean, look, Joe Kennedy made a deal. We were supposed to have access to the White House if we delivered Illinois. We delivered it. When I say we, the family there. They delivered Illinois, and what happened? Bobby Kennedy went just the opposite. As U.S. attorney, he started prosecuting.
He went after families.
Yeah, he went after it.
After Hoover did nothing for so long.
Well, remember, J. Edgar Hoover would never even admit that the mafia existed.
What do you think about the mob ties in the JFK assassination?
My whole life, all I ever heard, and I have no reason to disbelieve it because it was from the right people, without a doubt, that it was a mob hit.
Really?
No question. And look, Jack Ruby, come out of Chicago. He was around the Capone guys back then.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, he goes into a police station out of nowhere and he kills Lee Harvey Oswald. Come on.
A little suspect.
It was a setup. The CIA knew about it. I mean, what's his name? Ricardo said it. We killed the wrong Kennedy. He had it on tape. I mean, look, Joe Kennedy made a deal. We were supposed to have access to the White House if we delivered Illinois. We delivered it. When I say we, the family there. They delivered Illinois, and what happened? Bobby Kennedy went just the opposite. As U.S. attorney, he started prosecuting.
He went after families.
Yeah, he went after it.
After Hoover did nothing for so long.
Well, remember, J. Edgar Hoover would never even admit that the mafia existed.
Well, they had a little stuff on.
Why did that happen? J. Edgar Hoover used to go to the Stork Club, which Frank Costello had a piece of.
Right.
And what's his name there? I forget his name. Whatever, the owner. He had that place wired and bugged.
Yeah.
And he was trying to catch celebrities in acts so he can have something on them. But he happened to catch Hoover in a bathroom with his boyfriend.
That's right.
And they had it on him. True story. And Hoover would never mention that the mafia, the only time Hoover had to mention it was after Appalachia.
Right.
And he had to. Because
that's like 30 years later, right?
Yeah, it was later. And he had to say, okay, it does exist. He wouldn't prosecute. He wouldn't do anything. But Bobby Kennedy took the opposite. He said, no, we're going after these guys.
The mob, do you think the mob then did Bobby too?
No.
Really?
No.
And when you say the mob did JFK, does that mean the CIA worked with the mob?
Yes.
Wow.
Was that, it wasn't the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, they came to us to try to kill Castro.
How public was, all of this stuff went, from the 50s to the 80s? Was it very common in the press? Everybody knew the mob was out there. They're doing stuff. They're in the news every day. You mentioned walking to the prison. You're on the TV.
There wasn't, I'll be honest with you, New York Times, Daily News, New York Post, during my era in that life, there wasn't a day or two that went by without a mob story about somebody, usually 2 or 3 of them. Now, I read the New York Post every morning. Maybe every 6 months you might read something.
Right.
And then you read, what do you read? These guys got busted for the same old thing, gambling. And it's the same nonsense, silly things that they,
Yeah.
I just don't hear about it anymore.
No.
But I wonder if that's it. With the obsession over Donald Trump starting in 2015, CNN turned into the Trump News Network.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to watch CNN every day.
Mm-hmm.
This is 6-7 years ago. I had a projector screen on my wall playing CNN 10 feet wide, and I would just leave it running, so for breaking news. And then one day I'm watching it, and I see online that there's riots going on in Iran, and I'm like, what's happening in Iran? And I look at the screen, and they're having a roundtable talking about Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know, I got to change channel. Fox News, Iranian protests. And I'm just like, they became obsessed with talking about Trump. I'm wondering if now the media stops writing about the families and their dealings and what's going on because they're not getting the traffic and the attention they used to get. Maybe the story was just the American public was thirsty for news about what the families were doing. They made movies about it, endless movies.
To a degree, but I'll tell you what, back in my day, we had, among all 5 families, we had about 750 made guys that actually took the oath. We had a lot of associates, but guys that actually took the oath. Back then, the FBI had 1,200 to 1,400 agents assigned to the 5 families. There was 2 agents to every 1 guy, made guy.
Oh, man.
Now, there's less than 100 agents for all 5 families.
What I'm saying is either it's a prime time for resurgence because the public doesn't care and the feds don't care, or they've already they have operation going, but they're keeping it under the radar.
They are keeping it under the radar. They're not going away. That much I can tell you. But the feds are just not on them anymore. They feel that they did the job to a great degree.
They got to go after the J6ers.
Yeah, but they're not. But again, let me tell you, you don't want to get me started on that.
Yeah, we do.
They go after the J6ers much harder than the mob guys.
You know what? You know what gets me upset? Who the heck are these people that they made such a big deal out of it? First of all, I think that whole thing was a setup. I mean,
Totally.
come on. Trump asked Pelosi, have the National Guard there. She refused.
Yep.
He asked the mayor, get more police. They refused. They're walking people into there.
For sure.
And they made such a big deal out of it. And I'm saying, well, who the heck are you people? Right. Our cities were burning down.
Yeah, well, they funded those.
Yeah, after Floyd. Burning down, businesses closed, riots, people getting killed in the streets. It was a summer of what? What'd they call it?
Love.
Yeah, summer of love.
Mostly peaceful.
Yeah, so now we got to worry about you. Not one of you got hurt. You're hiding under the desk. You got a police force around you. Nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was an assault on democracy when normal people are getting killed, businesses getting closed, thousands are getting burned down. Yep. But you're special. Come on,
It's funny is it just sounds like a gang.
Yeah.
When it's funny you tell the story about your gas stations. The problem was that you were taking money from them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't care if the people are robbing each other, but don't go after their paychecks.
Exactly.
That's when they get mad.
Exactly.
That's why they didn't care about the summer of love. Rioters threw firebombs at the White House, torched a guard post, set fire to St. John's Church. The president was forced into an emergency bunker, but they don't like Trump, so that was fine.
They didn't care.
They don't care about it. They don't talk about it. There's no commission about it.
They didn't want it to end.
Yeah, right.
No.
They were
right.
Kamala was she put out that link to donate to help get these people out of jail.
Yep. Maxine Waters to get in their faces. They loved it.
Did you ever think in your wildest imagination that we would see something like that?
No. And Jack Posobiec has a really great post. I want to pull this one up. It's heavy political, but I think this one matters. Let me.
What surprised me is knowing history, it happens and it's bound to repeat itself. But it was just shock of people I knew overnight being brainwashed into being bloodthirsty for your neighbor or for your loved one and banishing your family if they had wrong think, or seeing people donate money to arsonists or marching down to the city and doing violence themselves.
This is a great post from Jack Posobiec. He says, I really have to tell the Zoomers, politics is not usually like this. Presidential elections are not usually like this. Usually they're kind of boring. Multiple assassination attempts, sitting presidents dropping out nuclear war threats, one party trying to lock up the other candidate. There's never been anything like this. Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's like, a fictionalized novel that you'd read 20 years ago that this could happen and you'd laugh it off. It would never happen.
How old are you?
73.
73.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not expect you to be 73. I thought you were younger than that. But you've been around for a lot of presidential elections. And you agree with Jack? It's usually pretty boring.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, it was great because one day, okay, you went out and vote. By the next morning, you know who the president is, or by later that night.
Do you think the elections were rigged before, though, at some point?
Absolutely do.
Presidential ones?
Before what?
Before the 2021.
I have no evidence to say that happened. I didn't even think of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because knowing you could fix games, knowing World Series have been fixed, it's like it seems nothing is safe.
Yeah, I have no evidence of that. Never heard anything on the street about that until the last election in 2020. But do I believe that election was rigged? 100%.
There's a lot of weird stuff going
100%.
on.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Look, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to progressives.
Mm-hmm.
But again, too, I wish people would just wake up. These people have lied to. I mean, they caused people to die during COVID.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think
these are murderers.
Genocidal.
These are murderers.
Mm-hmm.
They are murderers.
What Cuomo did with the nursing homes.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
And now he's entertaining a run for New York City mayor with what's going on with Eric Adams.
I know.
And people are actually suggesting he'll probably
They
win.
deserve him. He's a genocidal maniac, in my opinion.
But it wasn't just him. It was other Democrat
I think
governors.
Whitmer did it as well.
Yeah, I think it was also Wolf in, where was he? Was he PA?
PA. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 governors that did the same thing.
New Jersey, I think Newsom maybe did the same thing.
Yeah. But, look, you get guys like Fauci who misled us, who lied to us, who had something to do with the whole China, the Wuhan lab.
Right.
These guys walk away scot-free, and they got blood on their hands. I mean, they caused innocent people to die. hundreds of thousands, maybe more than that, and scot-free.
No accountability.
Isn't it kind of funny when you're getting your morals from a former mafia
Yeah.
guy over your government officials? You know,
Absolutely. Listen, if it's shocking
sense to
to me, who's seen a lot, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, again, it's all a violation of trust to such a degree that you cause people to die.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a public official. And I don't know why. I just cannot, I can't.
You wanted your neighborhoods to be nice.
Yes.
You wanted to go to your restaurant, bring your family out, not worry about it. I mean, there's parts of the New York City I just won't go to anymore because they're lost.
I know.
They're
and listen,
insane.
Chicago, I love that city.
Yeah.
Chicago's a great town. I always looked at it as a miniature New York, easier to get around
Yep.
with, great food, good people, great. And look at it now.
yeah, man. And to see the Mag Mile, Water Tower, Gold Coast areas, what they're turning into, it's crazy. The downtown storefronts just closed. And I was there a couple of years ago and I couldn't believe how many businesses had shut down. It's not just about the crime, it's the economy. I think, you know, it's one thing when you look at the local level, defund the police, the political climate around policing, the cops can't do anything. Not to mention, I mean, Chicago cops are corrupt. Not all of them, but Chicago's got corrupt cops. And I think now what we're looking at is, I guess, the inverse of when things break down the other direction, and now it's just gang crime and theft and robberies. Now there's no town at all. You know what's going to happen is, I go back home and I'm shocked to see what the city's turned into. But the people who never left, it's just the same, right? So the younger people are like, what do you mean? It's always been like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Older people are like, no, there used to be a hot dog stand over there. There used to be a barber shop over there, an ice cream shop right there.
I think a lot of that is what breeds nihilism in the younger people who are doing this like petty, violent crime, day-to-day stuff because they have no meaning in their lives. Going back to having no God and stuff like that.
You know, people used to say, well, you guys corrupted the cops. Yeah, okay. So we had a card game, and they would come, and we'd pay them off and look the other way while guys are sitting down playing cards.
Right.
They're not shooting each other. They're not robbing people in the street. They're not selling drugs. They're playing cards. Right. Okay, sorry the government isn't getting their cut out of it. Okay, so the cops, they would look the other way. We'd pay them. They'd go away. I mean, we're corrupting the cops. That's corrupting the cops.
Right.
I mean, come on. What else did we do with them? Really, that was it. They weren't hiding bodies for us or anything like that.
In the 70s and 80s, the city also wasn't the best of places, too. There were a lot of like crazy, it was Son of Sam was happening.
Absolutely.
The city went bankrupt at one
Yeah,
in the 70s.
yeah.
I think the president at that point said, no, I'm not bailing you out.
Not bailing out, yeah.
So, I mean, you were dealing with a lot of crazy stuff happening around you. So did you find yourselves having to defend yourself against some of the dystopian things happening in the 70s and 80s, or were you just kind of staying out of it?
Yeah, it didn't trouble us.
Really?
We were fine. Yeah. No, we didn't have any of those issues.
Right.
We were doing our own thing and just don't bother us and,
Right.
you know, don't mess with our neighborhoods or anything like that or stay away from our stuff and we're all right.
Right.
But listen, if they would have engaged, look, you know, you understand this too. I mean, this is kind of ironic, but most of my guys, they all fought in the war.
Right.
Either the Korean War, World War II, a lot of guys, they were patriotic.
Yep.
Hey, we'll steal money from the government. Don't you mess with my country, though. You
Right.
know, a lot of the guys had that view,
For sure.
believe it or not. You know, but
Oh man, I'm looking back at my old neighborhood and there's a vegan sandwich shop where the pizza used to be. We're lost.
that's it.
Seems like
Oh,
refund the
pizza
mafia.
Vegan food now. Oh geez.
God.
Refund the mafia.
Let me ask you this, okay? Do you think that America can survive 4 years of Harris and whoever's really pulling the
Barely
strings?
survived 4 years of her now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think another 4 years that we can survive this?
Well, you know, I'll say this. I think this country will exist. It's a question of will we like what it's become? You know, there's always going to be people here, even if the apocalypse were to happen and the sun were to, you know, solar flare out all the technology or whatever. The American people will figure it out, but a lot of people are going to be in really, really bad spots. I think we got a lot of people in this country who don't know how to survive, don't know what it means to work hard. There was a report out the other day, a survey found that Gen Z college graduate employees are getting fired at an extremely high rate, extremely quickly. And companies are reporting that when they bring in these, 23, 24-year-olds, they make excuses. They don't dress properly. They talk weird. They're insulting, condescending, lazy. They call them sick all the time. They're quiet quitting. And I fear for this next generation of where we're already at, because this is a problem of 20 years ago, that these things have been bubbling up. And I wonder if and this is kind of worrying, the real issue is that 20 years ago when the problems emerged, most people didn't realize that the roots of this nation, the next generation, were being poisoned. And now, 20 years later, this generation set to take over has got some serious problems. There are good and honest, intelligent Gen Z people. I'm never saying that every generation is bad or whatever, but there are a lot of, there's a greater degree as you get younger and younger of people who don't understand work ethic, sacrifice. And I think that even if we get Trump in, he starts to turn things around, we are going to be in some turbulence for a little bit. But to be fair, I think the preferable alternative would be Trump, obviously. I don't know that, should Harris actually win, I think that the tailspin that we're in turns into a crashing at sea, and the survivors got to figure out how to stay afloat. I think Donald Trump pulls us out of the nosedive. We get real close, things get shaky and things get rough, but we make it through.